Joining us now is retired Major General William Enyart. General, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for being here. So President Biden has warned of devastating consequences for Russia if Navalny dies in prison. We heard a little bit earlier today from VP Harris, and we know Biden today is en route to Ohio to survey damage in East Palestine after that toxic train derailment there about a year ago. What do you believe is the appropriate response from the president, and what response are you anticipating?
That's an incredibly good question and a really tough question to answer. I'm not sure what measures President Biden can take absent support from Congress. And we've certainly seen the small isolationist segment of the Republican Party that's answering to Donald Trump oppose any further aid to Ukraine. I don't think there's any question in anyone's mind that Putin is a dictator. I think there's maybe been too much emphasis placed on the Munich Security Conference and not enough placed on the fact that there's also an election coming up in Russia very shortly, and Putin wants to ensure that there is absolutely no opposition to him, which is, I think, probably the leading factor in why Navalny was in all likelihood killed. I think the opportunity of disrupting the Munich Security Conference is probably a lesser goal. Certainly anything that President Biden will do will have to be probably along the economic front rather than any military front. This reminds me very much of 1938 when Hitler marched on Czechoslovakia and the Western democracies did nothing. The Western democracies tend to react much more slowly than dictators. And dictators always underestimate democracies. We're slow to move, but once we begin moving, we're mighty.
Well, I want to get to that funding question in just a moment. But as you know, this is one of the fiercest foes of the Russian president. Navalny's crusaded against official corruption, staged massive anti-Kremlin protests as well, and now a year after being imprisoned is dead. What does this tell you about Putin's mindset? Do you believe he is emboldened at this hour?
Well, I think there are two factors. I think he is emboldened by the slow response of the Western democracies to his attack on Ukraine, but also he's fearful. Why would you bother to kill a man you've got locked up in a gulag north of the Arctic Circle who has a very limited stage to speak on? He is so afraid of any dissension. And he will tolerate no dissension whatsoever, which is why he had him murdered. Just as, he had far more to be concerned about with Prigozhin, the military leader of the Wagner group, whose plane he had blown out of the sky. And Navalny, he had entirely under his thumb. So I think this shows his fear of any opposition at all.
So how much, in your view, does this ramp up the pressure to get additional funding to Ukraine? And how do you see this changing conversations happening now in Congress? Is more funding, do you believe, the best answer to this alleged act of defiance against the U.S.?
I believe it is. Putin is really on a precipice here. His attack on Ukraine has miserably failed. Ukraine is a third the size of Russia and had a much smaller military, but Putin was unable to do the lightning strike that he thought he was going to be able to do. Now, of course, he attacked Georgia in 2008. He attacked Crimea in 2014. The U.S. was involved in Afghanistan and the Middle East. We were distracted and failed to respond. And of course, logistically, it was very difficult for us to respond either to Georgia or to the attack in Crimea. We simply weren't prepared to respond to those. But we are much better prepared to respond. I think that's one of the reasons he attacked Ukraine when he did. He didn't want to see the U.S. military be able to do a complete reset from the long time war in Afghanistan, and knew that we were resetting to a more conventional armed forces rather than defending against the Taliban in Afghanistan.
Major General William Enyart, we always appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.